Perhaps we all might remember from our childhood the game of picking straws or the match to see who goes first. I picked the short match. So I'm here to offer some closing thoughts, but I also feel inadequate to do this. And for really one reason. This is not my journey. This retreat, this time together, has been so personal to each one of us. It's your own journey. And we began this retreat with the words that you are your own teacher. Sam and I can be up here for 2 or 3 days and share thoughts about mindfulness practice, our own experience. But this is your journey. It's so personal. So rather than me trying to stitch this all up neatly in a box and put a bow on it, which is not necessary. There's probably no great teaching there or learning there. So we'll do that together. And we'll invite all of us at the end of this session to perhaps share a little bit on your journey, on the retreat, anything that might come up. But I think for me that would be so much more meaningful and fitting. And I hope you too. So we began 3 days ago, I think. We were on a hike, for those that you were here for the day before. And the hike was much more of a struggle than we all thought it would be. We were not warned. The weather was muddy after the rain. The rocks were slippery. And we reached a point where we thought we can rest, taking the view. Kind of like life. And we sat down and Sam gave a very moving talk about the Brahma Viharas, the divine abode that we've been sitting with this past few days. Loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, or as he shared, peace. That was the basin for all the other qualities, holding those qualities. And as we do, sometimes we record. And Sam asked me if I would record the talk, and I kind of set up the equipment. I was never on the AV squad as a kid. It was not my forte. It's still not. And so we set it up, recorded the talk. And Sam, I think, began with a little joke perhaps on it, like, hey, make sure you turn on the camera. I'm like, I got you, buddy. And he gave a beautiful talk. And even while I was sitting there, my mind did drift like, this is going to be great. This is good material to work with. This is going to be good to share. We finish the talk. He comes over to me and kind of breaking down the equipment. And he finds somewhere. We open the case. And I see in the case, or Sam sees in the case, a little Bluetooth connection that connects the camera to the phone, and I never plugged it in. You might imagine how I felt in that moment. Sam knew how I felt in that moment. And I think I might have said, oh, shit. And he said, it's okay. Okay, all's good. With this big heart. And we started to walk again. I took my first steps, and I was not feeling good. Thinking of disappointment in life, thinking of not being up for challenges, feelings of inadequacy, all this stuff from this very innocent moment. And I fell right into that groove that plays in the record of our life that I developed over time. Something so insignificant took me right down. And as we continued to walk, I said, "You've been practicing for quite a while. You've got a little toolbox to work with. Let's do that." And I put my hand over my heart and felt my heartbeat. I said, "I got you. This is okay. You're okay." Can I fill this space with love and care for myself? And almost like the magic wand, within a few steps, I began to reconnect and feeling better. And even though we teach, or I teach, sending love, metta, compassion to yourself, so often we forget, or I forget. And it's these little moments, these insignificant moments that we experience throughout our day. And I say insignificant because we're all sitting with something so much bigger. And those are the deep grooves. Those are the ones that we really feel, and sometimes very hard to pick ourselves out of. And that's okay. That's what we're here for. That's our practice. And perhaps sitting in silence these past few days created some space for us to allow whatever is there to arise. Just like the poem we've been reading in the morning, The Guest House, welcoming all. It's all here. It's all part of life. We don't get to choose what happens. But perhaps we do get to choose how we respond. And I learned that it was one of my first lessons in my own diabetes care after I was diagnosed. I struggled so much. I mourned for the life I was no longer going to have. All my fears and insecurities and difficulties, and were right there, taking away my joy, my happiness, my peace. And that was a very difficult time. And I know each one of us has experienced that, continues to experience that, regardless of when we were diagnosed. It's part of our lives. And the one thing I learned after being diagnosed, in the beginning of my practice, which is really how I came to practice, was loving kindness, compassion, spontaneous joy in celebrating others, and equanimity, and finding that peace. Understanding that that's at my core. And allowing that to rise up and hold me and give me the space that I needed to respond in a thoughtful, kind way. I want to read a short poem that came from the early days of the DiabetesSangha, and I'm not quite sure who shared it first. It wasn't me. But it was so powerful. And I had opportunity to share it, so I'd like to share it here. It's from Roger Keyes, called Hokusai Says. Hokusai says, look carefully. He says, pay attention, notice. He says, keep looking, stay curious. He says, there's no end to seeing. He says, look forward to getting old. He says, keep changing. You just get more of who you really are. He says, get stuck. Accept it. Repeat it. Repeat yourself as long as it's interesting. He says, keep doing what you love. He says, keep praying. He says, every one of us is a child. Every one of us is ancient. Every one of us has a body. He says, every one of us is frightened. He says, every one of us has to find a way to live with fear. He says, everything is alive. Shells, buildings, people, fish, mountains, trees. Wood is alive. Water is alive. Everything has its own life. Everything lives inside of us. He says, live with the world inside you. He says, it doesn't matter if you draw or write books. It doesn't matter if you saw wood or catch fish. It doesn't matter if you sit home all day and stare at the ants on your veranda, or the shadows of the trees and grasses in your garden. It matters that you care. It matters that you feel. It matters that you notice. It matters that life lives through you. Contentment is life living through you. Joy is life living through you. Satisfaction and strength is life living through you. He says, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Love. Feel. Let life take you by the hand. Let life live through you. Reflecting on that. for me, I think for so many, we go through life. Life happens to us. But just what if we can allow life to live through us, to be part of us, to open our heart, take down the barriers, the shield, the protection that is just part of who we are and how we come to be to this place right now. When I was 17, the person that was the closest to me in my life, the one who I conjure up every time they say, think of someone you love that loves you unconditionally back, passed unexpectedly. And it was my grandmother, and she was young at the time. It was on my first day of college. And for 10 years, I didn't shed a tear. That barrier was so tough. I didn't want to get hurt. I didn't let life live through me. It was a lesson that I learned here, because I have not thought about that for decades. I almost didn't realize it. But I realized that here. In opening my heart, letting down my barriers. Allowing myself to feel, experience, taking all the goodness that's here, that arises from all the difficulty that we all go through. It's a gentle reminder that we passed each day here. It was a lotus flower. Happened also to say dining room. But in the pond that we overlooked each day, there was a beautiful water lilies, lotus, that come from a place that is muddy, unclear. This is where the lilies grow. All of us, not just living with T1D, but sharing this space, this place that we call life, our days here. It's filled with struggle, suffering. We've all shared that here. We've all experienced that. This is the muddy waters of our lives. And that produces such beauty. Our challenges, our difficulties, that's all part of our journey. And if we could just open our hearts to that, and we notice that gripping feeling, to allow that to release, we blossom. There's a quote I can share from Teachings of the Buddha collection. Lotus and lilies do not grow on the dry ground in the wilderness, but rather in the swamps and mud banks. Just so, awakened qualities do not grow in those living pristine lives of wisdom, but rather in the swamps and mud banks of passions. Rephrased by Thich Nhat Hanh. No mud, no lilies. We also know that the muddy waters over time settle, and the mud returns, and the water is clear, perhaps just for a time or a moment. All is welcome in this guest house. Difficulties, struggles, not knowing, impermanence. All is welcome. This retreat, we didn't know what to expect. Perhaps we felt the same. I don't know. But I do know that we each probably had different expectations, thoughts of what it might be like. And that's going to stay with us for a while. But what you helped here create by your presence, by your kindness, by sharing your struggles, whether silently or intimately with yourself, perhaps others. You create and help this flower bloom of this Sangha, this community, which is so near and dear to us. We talk a lot about the connection of mindfulness and our experience with diabetes, impermanence, the constant change, the interconnectivity of all. And that's real for us. We'll share this also, the Buddha's words on presence and freedom. You should dwell ardent, mindful and alert, not chasing the past, not placing expectations on the future. The past is left behind. The future not yet attained. Whatever is present, you clearly see. Right there. Right there. Unshaken, unattached. This is how one develops the heart. And this has been a journey. Our heart has moved and traveled miles here together as a Sangha, individually, just by sitting, just by being present, being open. I'd like to do my own closing by reading another poem that I was introduced to by Sam, by the author David White. And I think it's a fitting close to this talk, and perhaps to this retreat. It's called The Journey. Above the mountains, the geese turn into the light again, painting their black silhouettes on an open sky. Sometimes everything has to be inscribed across the heavens so you can find the one line already written inside of you. Sometimes it takes a great sky to find that small, bright, and indescribable wedge of freedom in your own heart. Sometimes, with the bones of the black sticks left when the fire has gone out, someone has written something new in the ashes of your life. You are not leaving. You are arriving. I really want to express my gratitude to all here today for joining us on this journey. A reminder for me, a personal reminder, to keep my heart open to feel, experience, honor the mud in my life and the beautiful lotus flower that appears.